In this episode of the Denoise podcast, what Netflix thinks of AI.
Do people really like AI-generated stories?
And what Ryan Coogler's special Sinners deal means for Hollywood. Let's get into it. Hello, Addy.
Welcome back, Joey.
Thanks. Good to be back here. Another week. You see this story about a humanoid robot half marathon in Beijing.
How could I not see it? It's all over the internet.
Yeah, they ran a race with a variety of different humanoid robots. 21 robots ran along with thousands of people at a half marathon in Beijing. The winning robot came in at 2 hours, 40 minutes, and 42 seconds.
That's pretty good, right? If you compare it to a human runner?
I don't know, average. I mean, this was a half marathon, not a marathon.
Oh, half marathon at 2 hours is probably not that great.
I mean, I'd say that decent-ish, for a casual runner. Good job on the robots, but good job on the people that had to basically run with the robot with a leash and kind of keep up with them. Also, apparently, there was a battery change as well.
Okay, I was just going to ask. I was like, that's great battery technology right there.
Yeah.
What do we think of all this, Joey?
I mean, it's just progressing, it's a humanoid thing that can move. I would say a marathon is not I don't know what it's really testing it along from durability and endurance.
Yeah.
And even with that, the battery power wasn't long enough to keep going. But
why do these things happen in China and not here?
I think that's a better question. I think, why are we not just having fun robot marches?
The closest thing we had was deadly robots that fight each other. BattleBots. Yeah, after BattleBots, 10 years ago?
We saw the Vegas show. There was the Vegas show with an AI. They have not a dinner show, but a Vegas night show now that spun off from the reemergence of the TV show. But when I was watching it, I did feel a little like AI the movie when, in that scene when they have the robots fighting each other and you kind of just feel bad for the robots. And watching this now after with AI and robots and everything, I'm just feel kind of bad.
And then did you see that video of a humanoid robot that a bunch of office employees were kicking around?
Oh, yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah. And I see that's the trade shows too with the robot dogs and they're look how durable it is. And they're kicking it in the in the aisleway. And it's just I get you're showing the durability, but I still feel bad.
Yeah.
Also, I'm just trying to keep in mind that, in the future with the robot overlords that, they remember that I did not kick the robots.
The memory, it's all in cloud storage somewhere. It's not going anywhere.
Also, speaking of that, you see the other story about please and thank you?
Oh, with Sam Altman and ChatGPT?
Yeah, that he was saying that people saying please and thank you in the chat is costing them millions of dollars of compute power.
Okay, because that's probably in the millions, if not billions.
Yeah, but I just want the robots to know that I was nice and polite. In the future, again, sorry, it's costing more compute power, but I want them to know that I was being, polite.
A couple of things here. First, do you think there will be a PETA equivalent for robots, humanoid robots, when, in a society we have enough robots and you see mistreatment of robots? Do you think there will be a bunch of humans that are yo, man, stop kicking those robots?
That's a good question. Yeah, probably. I mean, especially too as with the rise of AI and these kind of AI relationship chatbots, her happens and people will fall in love with AI. Mm-hmm. And, if you put the AI in an actual
then you start robot to have and real connections.
I could definitely see
creepy
robot PETA.
On the flip side, do you think there will be the sort of destroyer of robots society?
Yeah, that will never go away. Yes, that will 100%. If it's not robots fighting each other or some mech suit kind of thing. Yeah. I mean, it's same thing with humans. We have MMA.
Yeah. Okay. It's chicken cockfighting.
Yeah. I mean, I guess maybe that's arguably worse because it's and dogs and that stuff, they're not consenting to wanting to be in a fight. The humans, it's they know what they're getting themselves into.
Okay, fair enough.
It's a big denoise
feel free
tangent.
To edit this out.
Nah, we'll keep the riffing in here, but all right, let's go to our actual first story. Netflix Q1, they had their earnings call, numbers and stuff, but the interesting thing was a couple of comments from Ted Sarandos. Mm-hmm. So in the earnings call, someone did ask about AI and what their thoughts about AI, and they also referenced the James Cameron.
Okay, I see the quote here.
Yeah, they referenced the James Cameron podcast interview where he said, he wanted to use AI to reduce costs by 50%, not reducing staff, but just reducing overall production costs.
Yeah.
Ted Sarandos said, I remain convinced that there's an even bigger opportunity if you can make movies 10% better and use AI to make movies 10% better. That their talent today is using AI tools to do set references or previs, VFX, sequence prep, shot planning, all kinds of things that make the process better. And he also gave an example of Rodrigo Prieto
on the de-aging and face swap.
Yeah, and how when they did it with The Irishman 5 years ago, it was extremely cumbersome, expensive.
Yep.
And then now they just did another shoot.
Was it probably Metaphysic AI, I'm guessing?
I don't know if there's just their own process or something that, was a fraction of the time using AI.
Of course. Tools. And I think the 10% number is such an understatement for an organization like Netflix. They can easily achieve a higher efficiency number with the in-house investment in AI that they already have. We talked about just like assembly cuts being put together by AI. Yeah. I think just that in itself will get you like a few percent efficiency.
Yeah, especially for a show like they're big marquee shows, like Love is Blind or Love Island is not enough.
Yeah, they have a lot of reality shows.
Yeah, and which those shows shoot tons of cameras, tons of footage all day long. And so like being able to sort through that faster.
Yeah.
Saves production costs.
And then, on the more sort of nuanced, complex VFX work, I think the jury is still out on what the actual number is. And a lot of VFX artists will push back and say, okay, AI is not the answer because how do you clean up AI? Versus you have full control over traditional computer graphics because you can go back to the geometry, adjust the geometry, go back to the shader, adjust the shader. Mm-hmm. But if something is generated, how do you regenerate it with that fine, small control nuance? Yeah, the jury's still out on the VFX side, but I will say there is so much tedious work. Like I talk about rotoscoping all the time and relighting. There's room for a few percent efficiency in VFX, a few percent in pre-production, and a few percent in editing.
Yeah. And ultimately, I mean, it's interesting. His argument is like, he wasn't talking about numbers. He was talking about like, it'll make it better. But I think what he means is like, we can make either the same or better films and reduce our costs.
100%. And then, tying it back to what James Cameron said about making movies at 50% of the VFX cost, like that is so accurate, unfortunately, in today's landscape where we just don't have a box office, right? So everything overall has to just come down to a new ceiling. However, the audiences are really acclimated to the quality we've been delivering as an industry for the last 30 years with traditional VFX. All of a sudden, we can't have a 50% reduction in quality. We need to have the same output.
Right, what the exact, we're expecting the same.
But the money is just not there to spend on the same output.
And it also ties into what we talked about last episode too, when if Davy Jones, Pirates of the Caribbean 2, and people being like, look, this looks so great. Why does it not, this was 10, 15 years ago. Why does it not look like this today, CG? And it's like lower budgets. Yeah. Not enough time.
Exactly.
Like, not enough time that they gave them to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you go back and look at the box office for Pirates of the Caribbean, like the first or the second one versus like the latter ones. I'm sure there was a little bit of drop off there, and as the market was adjusting during that franchise.
Yeah, and the other thing that made me think of too, because you can make the same film maybe with a smaller budget, but hopefully that also opens up opportunities if they're still doing the same annual spend that they can make more content or acquire more content.
Yeah.
And one interesting note that they dropped in the call, they said the most buzzy titles that you're hearing tons of conversation around, those still drive less than 1% of viewing on Netflix.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And so that sort of led into, the discovery recommendation abilities are really critical, for them to surface content to people and what they want to watch.
Yeah.
But I thought, that's interesting that like everything that's still just how massive their library is and how varied the viewing is. And that even the big title films, projects,
100%
series that you hear of is 1% of their viewing.
Yeah. If you look at the latest, like whatever Stranger Things newest season or, one of their big original properties newest season, people will binge through that in a day or a few days. And then what? And then you have to still fill their plate, if you will, for the next 29 days of the month. And so Netflix just needs to just keep and a lot of people won't watch the same film twice now that there's so much selection.
Yeah, Netflix is known about the churning game for a while. Yeah. And, that's why they built up so much content, because it's like, yes, they need to keep people sticking around after they watch Stranger Things or whatever new season is out, if something they wanted to see, that they don't cancel their subscription and wait until the next time, which I think is an issue that like Apple TV had, where it's like, people wanted to see Severance, but it's like they don't have enough stuff to keep people sticking around.
Yeah, so people cancel their Apple subscription, and then now Apple, I don't know if you saw this, it pops up on your iPhone. Apple's like, bring us back sale or whatever. It's like $2.99 a month for 3 months, because it knows you canceled, you watched that last show.
No, I didn't get that. I didn't cancel.
You're a subscriber.
I support it.
Okay.
But they also got me with the bundle. They got me with the bundle thing.
The one, Apple TV or Apple One.
Yeah, the music, the TV, it was like enough, like I don't use the fitness app. It was like enough things bundled in it where I was like, it seems like the iCloud storage. It was like enough things where it's like, okay, you got me with that, where it's like, it makes enough sense rather than buying each thing individually.
Just a quick shout out on the bundle. Verizon has an amazing bundle for I think $20 a month where they put in like Hulu, Netflix, and a couple other things. So check it out if you have Verizon.
Shout out to your former. you're still in the Verizon mode.
Yeah, I think I still have the employee discount.
And yeah, there's a couple other interesting things too. Just talking about acquiring video, or if they would get into the video podcast space. And yeah, they also said some interesting stuff about YouTube, because they're asked about kind of creator-led content and what we've talked about before with YouTube for taking watch time on TV, versus Netflix. But it's not necessarily Netflix versus other streaming platforms, but Netflix versus YouTube.
Yeah, it's an interesting delineation. And I think Ted Sarandos is so smart to draw just a clear line in the sand saying that, hey, YouTube can have the user-generated content. That's their game. And that obviously it's going to be bigger because there's just a ton more UGC out there. But we're going to stick to premium storytelling, stuff that's made quote unquote professionally. And that is our game. And we always wondered, like, you can put premium content on YouTube as a creator. You can charge subscriptions for it. YouTube tried their originals once or twice.
I remember that.
Yeah. But then
YouTube Red.
You don't see it the other way. Like Netflix is not experimenting with user generated content.
No, I mean, they're in that space more purely from a marketing perspective. Like same with their kind of podcast, they have podcasts, but they tie into Netflix series. They have a variety of YouTube channels kind of focused on verticals and niches like anime and maybe true crime.
Yeah, they have a platform.
Big comedy platform, Netflix comedy platform. But it is content in itself, but it's like it is only serving the purpose to drive people to the full platform on Netflix.
Yeah, and I think it's called Tudum. They have like a whole
they're like newsletter and
like that's its own YouTube like universe. And by the time a podcast, like maybe one day will be on Netflix. By the time a podcast gets to Netflix, it is no longer user generated content. It's polished as heck. It's as professional as it gets.
Yeah. It still feels like YouTube is the feeding ground. You can launch, you can generate. I think there'll be more opportunities because the tools and what you need to make something look professional is getting more and more accessible.
Yes.
Obviously, as we're talking about with AI and all that, the tools that are being available. So, if you have a good story to tell, if you're a good storyteller, you don't need to have a huge budget to do cool things.
Yeah.
But I still think it will probably be like, you can prove yourself on YouTube. There are definitely plenty of monetization options to build a full-fledged media company and survive on YouTube.
You can never have to touch Netflix. You could just be on YouTube.
And then when it makes sense, if Netflix does come knocking or something like Amazon with Mr. Beast, and it's like, oh, we'll just give you like more resources or bigger platform than, you'd normally have, then, maybe that makes sense. Like there is Miss Rachel, which went on to Netflix.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Lily Singh was on Netflix. She had a show.
She had a late night show.
Okay. Might have to fact check that one.
I know she definitely did do I think it was like one season. It just didn't work out, but it was like a late night talk show. Maybe she had a stand-up special or something.
So, I mean, with everything Ted Sarandos said and what James Cameron covered in the Boz podcast, what are your thoughts on where we're heading?
It's more of the acceptance of AI as a tool and figuring out how this can fit into existing pipelines and how it could be used to speed up artisans.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone wants to replace or like lay off people.
Right. They just want to make more with the same resources.
Costs. I mean, maybe it just is like less work time or production time, but there's still kind of a similar size crew. But it's like all of the talk, none of the talk is like nothing that anyone is saying is like, oh, we're going to use AI to, generate a fully personalized short form series on Netflix, just for you. And it's just going to be a AI generated program just for you. None of the talks around that. It's all just like, how do we fit this into our existing workflow to just make things run more efficiently?
Yeah, it feels super short-term and financial goal-oriented, which is, I think, very in line with what the technology can do today.
And then, speaking of AI, our next story is interesting. So there was a study where basically they were asking people, would you prefer a human-written short story or an AI-generated short story? And people overwhelmingly said they would prefer a human-written short story.
Of course.
But when tested and given short stories, blind sample studies, and not told which one was AI-generated and which one was human-generated, they could not tell the difference and did not have a preference.
Yikes. Yeah, I mean, depends on the level of storytelling and the type.
Yeah, there's a lot of caveats here.
I think like those romantic novels that are just, the authors are just pumping out one book every week, or the real short stuff, the vertical cinema stuff, so telenovela stuff. Like, that can be written by AI.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I know those are, still, I believe, human ridden. Like you need that, you need to make sure you nail those hooks and get people sucked in.
There's
correctly.
definitely an art to making it really well, but at the very basic level.
For me, this doesn't say necessarily anything about the story itself. It just feels like this negative bias around anytime people hear something like AI was used in something.
Yeah.
Like we saw with The Brutalist and Respeecher.
Yeah.
Like we've seen with other things. And I think what this just sort of confirms and what I think is going to happen is just, like the Netflix and they're going to keep experimenting and trying to use AI tools. They're just not going to talk about it because why are they going to talk about it if if people have a very little understanding of how this stuff actually works, and if they just hear AI and then they instantly have a negative reaction to it and are like, nah, this must be crap. This is AI slop. It's like, you don't know what you're talking about.
Right. No, it's like almost like a cultural bias that's prevalent throughout society at the moment.
Yeah, there's just this sort of backlash against it without understanding anything that's going, like what the actual process was.
I mean, I'll say like there is a lot of AI slop out there. And
yeah, for sure.
There's a lot of AI theft out there. All the Studio Ghibli stuff just didn't do AI any favors.
No.
Yeah.
No. And that doesn't help either. But and I think that, it comes back to something I've been saying a lot, where it's just like, we also just need better language to clarify, like, AI generated where you're Studio Ghiblifying something and it's just like a complete AI output versus you used it for rotoscoping, you used it for, modifying some speech, or you used it.
Pika editions, right. Where it's like this thing in VFX, like the octopus thing we did on the table, like I went over this, like that would take somebody weeks.
Yeah. And it still, it was a demo, test shop. But if you're actually filming your story or doing something, it's like, oh, well, I need to add a spaceship here. And it's like, I could not afford to do that. Yeah. It's like I'm using it as a tool as part of my bigger story.
Exactly.
The whole film is not AI generated.
Yeah. Or taking an existing story and using AI to accentuate, our act 2, add an extra character, or modify things that you otherwise wouldn't have time for, or just need to hire more people to do. I don't know.
Yeah. And I mean, I've talked about this too, where it's like, I think a lot of times when it comes down to smaller productions or other things, and it's, using AI in the process, a lot of times it's not like, oh, it's like, are we using AI or are we going to hire someone to do it? A lot of times there is no money to hire someone.
No.
And so it's either we either don't do it at all, or we can't hire someone. And so, I think AI, I see it as like a solution for a lot of things where it's like, you just couldn't afford to do it any other way.
Yeah, it goes back to the Robert Rodriguez $7,000 budget for Air Mariachi. He was on the Lex Fridman podcast. He talked about it again. He was like, I only shot one take and I had no idea what the exposure of the film looked like. And that's all I had the money for. So you have indie filmmakers that are literally put into a corner. They either make this movie and make it in general, or they burn out.
Right, or it doesn't exist.
Yeah. So for those folks, I think AI is absolutely going to be embraced.
Yeah, for sure. And I think across the board, it's just in the very high scale, it's like we have the stuff, Cameron and Sarandos were talking about. Yeah. But for on a more accessible scale for the YouTube creators or even just independent filmmakers.
100%. And, a movie studio business like Netflix or, Disney, it's still a business, and businesses still have people that look for efficiencies and reduce costs. And of course, they're going to look at it in that lens, right? Mm-hmm. Which is the 10% number and the 50% number. Yeah.
I would rather we lean into AI more and figure out a way to use that to also bring back production to LA than have some complete anti-AI stance and then also see all of the productions leave California because they're going to cheaper tax incentive havens.
That's such a good point you bring up. I think the only way we'll be able to do that is if we have true AI movie leadership here, in as far as who's the Ryan Coogler of AI movies in the next 10 years. Is that person here in LA now? Are they talking about their ideas, exchanging information here in this town?
Yeah, I'm sure they are. I mean, we've seen a bunch of AI-centric studios. I know AI LA had a whole report released of AI-centric studios, and I mean, a lot of them, I think the ones that are going to work are people who came from a more traditional background, because it's now it's the AI tools are getting good enough, but you need to bring in that traditional understanding of just, good storytelling and good, being able to direct using the cinematic language to make a film. And you're just, instead of filming or, creating every shot in Blender or something, you're, using a combination of AI to help speed up the process.
Yeah, LA is by far the Silicon Valley of the movie industry. And what I mean by that is like we're technologically like years ahead of any other region in the world as far as M&E tech goes. That's why you and I are here. We're doing this podcast here. So I remember riding this wave in virtual production back in 2020, right before the pandemic, even end of 2019, when The Mandalorian season 1 was being built out. They were putting up the stage in Manhattan Beach. I remember a few of my friends leaving their current jobs, going to ILM for this new thing that they weren't able to talk about. I mean, we were like 2-3 years ahead of, you know, somebody in South Korea getting a stage, somebody in London getting a stage, and all that stuff being built out around the world. I see the same with the AI. You know, we have the AI LA, we have like guys like Dylan and the wizards that can actually make AI movie making happen. The Netflix AI engineers, I'm sure a lot of them are around here. We're going to be a few years ahead, and then that'll get scaled and deployed to the rest of the world.
Yeah, I think AI itself is such a broad category, broad application. Yeah. Obviously, it applies to way more stuff than M&E, our little tiny like bubble.
But I don't think the productions are coming back.
I think the adaptation of AI in a professional filmmaking workflow and to make it work is going to happen in LA.
I agree with you 100%. Just like, you know, the automotive industry, like once the factories leave Detroit, it's not coming back to Detroit. But Detroit is still the epicenter of the automotive industry. Like, have you been to the Detroit Auto Show? Like, that is the #1 auto show for the industry. And then all, like, even Hyundai, Kia, whoever develops prototypes and cars, they always have Detroit plates on them. Because they're registered to Michigan. You know, all of the R&D, a lot of the R&D is doing it there.
Yeah. So I did the Ford factory tour when I was there.
Yeah.
Like, they have a test track.
I like, you can't fight the tax incentives by putting on our tax. It'll help, but it won't bring it all back.
Cat's out of the bag.
Yeah.
But I would still rather fight. Okay. I would still rather fight for that to like
100%. Like, it shouldn't be an unfair fight. You know, like we should have equivalent tax credits, and the production should choose.
Yeah, if they match it, right? And like, it's an option. Sure, a lot of times it won't make sense to film here,
right?
But you know,
like the Rob Lowe
don't
thing,
price yourself out.
Is just crazy.
Yeah,
like that shouldn't happen.
Yeah,
where it's cheaper to ship the entire team to Ireland to shoot something than
to
go
shiny floor show where that has absolutely nothing to do with anywhere production, any location, geographic location. It's just, you know, physically cheaper to be there. Yeah. The last thing that has come up with me with AI too, on the flip side is, or two things. One is general public now just groups AI with CGI. Like I've talked to so many, like a handful of people, just like non-film people. And, you know, whenever they're talking about a visual effects scene or something, they're just like, yeah, you know, I don't know, this like AI, CGI thing, like Wild Robot. You know, it's like, oh yeah, was that AI?
Oh no.
And so
that was so handmade.
I think in our industry, you know, we do get very tied up on the specifics of the lingo and, you know, AI and what, you know, where the artistry comes in. But general population does not know or care. I mean, did they enjoy the story? You know, did they like the movie? It still comes down to like, oh, did you enjoy it? Yeah, cool. Right. Did they really care how it was made? Not so much.
I think as we transition into more AI tools, the general public honestly won't know the difference.
Yeah. So, you know, maybe the AI label does, I don't know, affect some people's projection, but on the flip side, on cases where there is no AI involved at all, people think there is AI, which has also happened on some project we're working on now, some client projects. And we just use some stock footage for like a placeholder for something. And then we get a comment like, remove this AI image. And it's like, it was just a stock photo. But now people, you know, like perception of like what's real, what's generated is just completely going out the window. It's wild.
we need like a label like fair trade AI, where it's like a little beautiful sticker like Starbucks has on their coffee or something.
This is originally human generated.
I mean, that's what Asteria is doing. You know, Moon Valley Asteria, like they're calling their model clean AI. Like that's a thing that they're rolling out as a marketing thing.
Oh yeah, or like you're talking like Firefly and
I don't know what Firefly. They don't call it clean AI. They
say commercially safe.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like all those things could be bundled into like
or on the flip side, the Adobe, the content authenticity program to like verify that things are actually shot in a camera. There's another company we interviewed videos coming out or is out, OpenOrigins.
Okay.
Where they're like basically same idea, like run images or run, pictures that you take out of a camera tied into the blockchain. But I think that stuff will come back into play, like we've talked about with NFTs and some of these ideas from Web3 that were kind of like crazy-ish and didn't really take off. I think some of them will come back. And OpenOrigins was a company that you can run your images or photos through their platform, and it gets tied to the blockchain so that you can verify.
Yeah.
It does it creates like a 3D depth map. You can fake an image, but you can't generate the depth map from a fake image as well. You can
generate a new depth map, which will match the old.
That sort of becomes the signature of verifying the image, and then it gets tied to the blockchain.
Almost.
Yeah, and that it gets tied to the blockchain. And so people are trying,
it's a good attempt.
It's like, we're going to need it,
yeah.
Especially for journalistic endeavors and stuff.
Ultimately, like an AI authentication mechanism will have to be rolled out by a giant player in the VFX ecosystem, like Autodesk, Foundry, Adobe, which ties into the tool sets that everybody's already using.
Yeah, and then goes also back to the camera manufacturers. And I mean, it's going to need to be an industry-wide adoption of protocols to everyone to be on the same.
So maybe it's like a SMPTE or an HPA or industry body like that that just kind of pushes it out.
Sure, I hope that will be coming in the next few years.
Awesome.
We're going to need it. Okay, and then the last story, probably to continue our Sinners trilogy. We're going
to watch Sinners soon on this show, and we're going to talk about it.
I've been holding out for to see it in 70mm IMAX.
Okay, I'll just see it in general. I don't care.
No, I'm being picky about this one. But also, I was texting some friends, and they're like, "Oh, we can see it here at 70mm." And then he's like, "I watched the Ryan Coogler, 10-minute Kodak film. Like, this is what he recommended." And I was like, wait, no, but that one is a 70mm cropped. The IMAX is the 70mm uncropped.
Yes.
And he's like, wait, what? There's two different.
Like, it's not as wide. It's more of a 4:3 aspect ratio.
It's 4:3 combined with the widescreen Panavision. So different sequences will cut between the aspect ratios. But there is a second version of 70mm, but the entire film is cropped. To the 248 or whatever the
no bueno
widescreen. Yeah, but I'm like, even my friend who is in the industry got confused. He's like, this is the most confusing way to figure out how to like watch this film as far as all the million different format options.
I just love that the movie switches from like a 4:3 box to a 16:9 box to a 1. It's like I've never seen a movie do that.
Even more narrow than 16:9. Yeah, I mean, the Nolan, the Batman films do it.
Oh yeah.
But not the Panavision wide, which is a much more like an anamorphic. I don't know if it is anamorphic, but it's a much more narrow
278. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, the story has nothing to do with that. Ryan Coogler's deal, when he sold the script to Warner Brothers, basically says that he gets the copyright of the movie reverts back to him after 25 years.
That's cool. I've never seen that.
Crazy deal. Yeah, I think there are a handful of people. I think Tarantino had some early deals with Miramax, and then that maintained through when he did Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Okay.
But besides that, extremely rare. And I mean, the reason is like the studios,
they want their
money
bad
by building up a library.
Yeah.
And owning the rights to these films forever and monetizing these films forever. That's kind of their business model. And so there's like some freak out of, is this the end of the studio model? Because
Ryan
Coogler's getting his copyright back to his film.
How many Ryan Cooglers are out there?
25 years. There's only one Ryan Coogler. Yeah. I mean, I think this is a deal that only a handful of top A-list directors could even get. And a lot of studios turned this down because they didn't, they didn't want that part of the deal.
Warner Brothers went for it because
I think they're in a position
they did a calculation. They're like, we need this big box office hit now. Forget.
Yeah, they needed something, they needed a good hit, a good film, and we're willing to do that. So, what do you...
Yeah, I think,
what do you think about it?
Again, I see a lot of doom and gloom Hollywood reporting, which, of course, has its grain, truth all embedded in it. Like, yes, the industry's in a downturn. Yes, the overall financial model of the studios are in limbo. Yes, people have been laid off. Yes, jobs have been reduced. Having said that, like, filmmaking is not dead. There's still tons of films being shot, even here in LA. Like, you can drive around, you see production trucks everywhere. I was just at a big studio backlot last week, and they were shooting another big Amazon show there while I was like, it's still happening. It's maybe not to the capacity because everybody is used to being overworked, being on 2-3 projects at the same time.
Yeah. Or I think
it's not the boom days.
they're used to, right, when all the streamers are trying to get off the ground and throwing just tons of money because they need to produce stuff.
And everything is cyclical. I think the industry is at like the lowest sort of point, or maybe, unfortunately, might go even a little bit lower in the next couple of years. And then the financial model and how much a movie should cost, those answers will come to us. And then the new movies will be made within those ranges. By then, AI tools will be more efficient, and we'll have a more distributed global production network as it's happening now. Those things will all contribute to a lower cost of production, and then we'll have great films again. And look, we have Sinners today. Like, that's a great film that was made in the last, a year or two? Hollywood is not dead, folks.
No, of course not. Yeah, as far as the expectation of I'm thinking going back to, rise of creator economy and YouTube creators, and then, maybe making the shift to a Netflix or getting a movie deal or something. If, they're a YouTube creator, they're coming up from this background, they own everything. They, built out a brand. Is there going to be more of an expectation or some difference in who owns the copyright, especially if they built up a brand? So like Miss Rachel, like I don't know what the details of that branded, but is it, I'm going to guess that Netflix does not let her own the copyright of the shows that she produced for Netflix. So is it like a license with Miss Rachel brand, but they own the episodes that were produced for Netflix? I think this will get, I don't think every director is now going to demand, or maybe I'm sure they'll ask for it, but they will probably not get.
They won't get it.
The ability to get the copyright back to their film after a certain number of years. But I just wonder if the deals are going to shift, especially if working like Mr. Beast. Does Amazon paid $100 million for a show? I'm going to guess they own the copyright to the show,
right?
But I think what the terms of the deals look like will probably change.
I think
copyright's extreme. That's like the ultimate level. But
you're absolutely right. Like, not everybody can have this sort of power that Ryan Coogler has, and rightfully so. Like, he's just not here overnight. He's made Black Panther 1, 2, Creed. Like, he's been doing this for his whole life. He's at the top of his game. And there's only a few people on the planet like Denis Villeneuve and, just a few filmmakers that could really command this level of control from the studios. Having said that, it also shows how flexible things are right now.
Right.
Like, they're willing to do this.
Yeah, Warner Brothers was in a tricky spot. And they needed, I think it was around the time of COVID, and they kind of had backlash from like other filmmakers when they released all the films on streaming that year instead of doing theatrical releases or holding them until things reopened again, like when Dune 1 went on straight to streaming, and they got a lot of backlash for.
Look, I tell you, like,
the filmmaker
this
community.
probably would have been impossible in the 80s and 90s because the windows were such money makers.
Yeah,
the studio would never give this up. But now they're like, 25 years. I don't see us making much money off this film in 25 years.
Or we just need to have this. Yeah. Now we need to like hit our quarter numbers. Right. And this is a problem 25 years from now.
Yeah, it's like taking a really high interest loan. It's like, I just need the money now.
It also kind of reminds me of like the Lucas deal with Star Wars, where when he kept the merchandising rights.
Yes.
And the studio didn't think anything of it because there was like, we don't do anything with this. Like, sure, whatever. And
now it's like billions of dollars.
Raked it in with all of the Star Wars products.
Right.
Yeah. So, maybe they'll realize later it wasn't, I don't know, the best deal. But I think they did the best deal at the time to get this project. And
I think for our viewers, the big takeaway here is that, the industry is truly changing from underneath, like the building blocks of what makes a Hollywood studio run and how the deals are done and how it's made. Everything is in flux, which means you should be really dynamic as well and be aware of what the big moves are. And this could be a good time for a lot of our viewers to make a career change or think about doing something else or get into that passion project they've been always wanting to do. Now is the time to really strike it. Like, as doom and gloom as it sounds, it's really not. It's just a very flexible time.
Yeah, or use this time to retool, figure out some of the new tools out there.
Yeah.
And I messed around with Runway Gen 4 and the ChatGPT image editor this weekend.
Okay.
Extremely impressive.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like crazy how like fast things have changed and how easy it was to like throw together a film and just direct it and be like, I need you to change this image or change the angle here.
Yeah.
And the ChatGPT operator, and they'll just like shift the angle. I was like, what? Yeah.
I dropped an F-bomb.
We'll bleep that one out.
Okay. Good times.
Yeah. So as usual, I'm still optimistic and excited about
Same
the
here.
future.
Yeah, look, the future won't be without some pain and some adjustment. And there are a lot of people out there that will not see the other side of the industry because they're so locked into what they do now.
Yeah, and the old system is just, not the old system from the last 20 years is not going to exist anymore. But there's going to be a new system and something different. It's just a transition period right now.
Yeah, but I think most people are able to adapt and sort of be on their feet, and there's just a lot of resources out there for you to do that right now.
Yeah. All right. Good place to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Speaking of resources, denoisepodcast.com. We got links to everything we talk about, and also tons of articles and videos on that website as well, which ties into VP land, VP-land. Everything we talk about, we're usually ahead of the game. So check it out if you want resources on how to learn and utilize all this stuff.
Yeah. We get a lot of comments like, this is the best source of industry information, all the AI tools. We love that because that's exactly what we want to be. Leave us comments like that. It really gives us positive feedback and sort of the direction which we should be going. And also, if you don't like to hear something, let us know as well. I mean, either way, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, we want to make it a useful show. Well, thanks again for everyone for watching, and we'll catch you in the next episode.